Hey, so in this video, I'm going to talk about Lothar's hot take about Lev versus G2 and Abyss in general. I'm just going to talk about why this opens up a nice debate, really, and also the direction of Abyss. And some of the questions I want to talk about, some of the things I want to clear up. So this is incredibly disrespectful to the sport, to the viewers, to the opponents, and to the tournament organisers. Should not be allowed by Riot in the first place to jump off like that to deny a round. Maybe it's actually not allowed, and if that's the case, G2 should be fined. So I don't agree with this because I think that jumping off the map is integral to Abyss. I don't think it's a bug, and if it was a bug, I would be all in for it, but it's not a bug. So therefore, I don't think Riot should touch it with like imaginary rules outside the game for specific games, sorry, for the specific tournaments, right? I don't think that should exist. I think it should be fine to jump off the map on that map. It's completely fine. I also don't agree because I think he also did say the simplest solution to this, without Riot forbidding it in the VCT rulebook, which I disagree with quite strongly, would be adding a credit bonus for a random opponent for 400 credits whenever someone jumps off the map, which is a bad idea. The reason why it's a bad idea is because in solo queue, if someone decides to troll, you're giving the enemy team an economic advantage. I don't think that's good either. So I think it's either one side wins and one side loses, or vice versa, right? So you don't want to do that. And so I think that it's best to see where Abyss goes, and if Riot don't like the direction of Abyss, they will take the map out of the pool and try and fix it. Definitely emphasis on try, because some maps they reintroduce don't work. Number 2, I understand that this negates Lev of getting 1,000 credits and 5 orbs for killing the G2 players. These two numbers are misleading. This is not 1,000 credits and this is not 5 orbs. This is actually 2,500 credits because you plant the bomb. If the round goes through, you plant the bomb. So you get 2,500 credits. So you're robbing the enemy team of 2,500 credits. Is it likely that you can rob the enemy team of 2,500 credits by playing out the round? Probably not. So therefore, they are robbing 2,500 credits away from Lev by jumping off the map in this situation, which is quite a substantial amount of credits early on into the round when you're just going into your first buy phase. Your first buy round is actually quite substantial to get rid of 2,500 credits. This is also not 5 orbs. This is 7 orbs. The reason why this is 7 orbs is because there's 2 more orbs on the map, and if you fall off fast enough and the enemy team don't know you're going to go for this strategy, so they can't like beeline it straight to an orb, then they will lose those 2 orbs as well. So they're losing 7 orbs, especially because they also have the advantage in that round. So it's unlikely that you will get the orbs unless they decide to group up and go somewhere specifically, and you know that, and you can get that 1 orb. So it's about 6 or 7 orbs, right? That you're denying, right? Realistically, and I think that's where the main point is. You're denying 7 orbs-ish, right? Which means that, because if you think about it, going into that 3rd round, into your first buy round, usually you would actually be down around 8 to 3 orbs. About that, right? Maybe 2 orbs. 2 to 8 orbs, right? That's how much you'd be down. And in some cases, that can also mean an ult that you don't have, that they have. And that could be the turning point for your bonus, and then, so for their bonus, and then you end up losing your buy round. So I think that this is going to add a bit more of strategic depth around economy on Abyss, because I think that it will play differently, because I think we might see pistol rounds where people will win the pistol and then they will actually save on the 2nd round after winning the pistol, expecting the enemy team to jump off the map, so then they can match the 3rd round with a buy. That is potential. That has potential, right? Or maybe if you have, or maybe they might not risk it that much. They'll actually do something similar to what Aspas has done in this round, where he buys a Vandal, or someone buys a Vandal for him. Actually, I think, where they have a Vandal essentially on that round, on the 2nd round, and then if it so happens that someone outside, if that so happens that the 3rd round, so they jump off on that 2nd round, you have a Vandal anyway for the 3rd round. So we might end up seeing stuff like that, or we might end up seeing like full saves, and then they buy on the 3rd. Obviously, that is a risk that's a risk to take, and that's a read to take, and I think it adds more skill to shot calling the game and reading your opponent. So I think that is actually quite good. One other thing as well I'm going to talk about, but I think this is literally trolling and thrown around by G2. I don't think that is the case, because I think to troll or throw, you need to have a perspective on what the overall outcome of the game is going to be. And if they were intending to lose, I think they would be jumping off the map every single round. This gives a tangible advantage on the next round. How could it be trolling or throwing if it gives a a massively tangible advantage in the next round? It can't be. It's simply, if you take into account the multitude of rounds, then they aren't throwing, they aren't trolling. And because no round is played in isolation on this game, right? Every round is played with future rounds bearing in mind. It's the reason why alt economy exists. It's the reason why normal economy exists. It's bear in mind, whenever you play a round, you're bearing in mind the next rounds. Every round is doable, and you just rob yourself of that chance. So this is actually a part that maybe I could agree with in this specific case. The reason why is because G2 are losing at this point, right? They're going to make it 10-4 by the time they jump off the map. The round's over, it's going to be 10-4. Theoretically, right? It is best when you're losing to give yourself, to take some more risks to win the round, right? And I think here, this is very, very consistent that you're going to guarantee, like you deny the 2,500 money and maybe you deny like 6-7 orbs, right? That's pretty consistent. However, when you're losing, you don't want consistency. You want the game to be chaos because you want the game to go in your favor again because it's not currently in your favor. You want to find ways to take high risks and then turn that high risk into a snowball. That's what you want. So I don't really agree with G2 doing this necessarily. Maybe they would have to be like further on in the game slightly. Maybe a 10-3 would be a lot more agreeable. 9-4, don't really know if it actually is the case or not to actually jump off here. And I think teams will get better at identifying when not to jump off or when to jump off, maybe depending on the scoreline. One other thing I also wanted to mention with this as well was that because of the lack of orbs, which I forgot to mention when talking about the orbs and money, because of the lack of orbs, something that is really, really important here is that every single agent has different orb costs, right? There are some that are 7, there are some that are 8, some that are even 9. So, or some that are even 6. So, will we actually see a change in composition, specifically on Abyss, specifically because of the second round? Because there's going to be lack of orbs, right? Both teams are going to be equalizing their orbs, right? You end up being 1 orb behind as the losing team, when realistically on the winning team, you end up being 1 orb ahead. So realistically, on any of the map, you should be about 8 orbs, like somewhere between 3 and 8 orbs, like ahead, right? On any other map. But on this map, you're not. So does it mean that we're going to see agent changes specifically because they don't have access to orbs? Will we see a Phoenix because it's easy to get his ult? But bear in mind as well that he also really likes to get a multitude of orbs or a lot of orbs to spam his ult. So maybe he doesn't actually get played. But yeah, there's questions like that being asked that aren't asked on any of the map. So I do think that this map is interesting at the very least. I think time will tell if this is interesting for the teams. Because if it's not interesting for the teams and they don't like this map because of where it's going strategically with this stuff, right? With potentially playing lower agent orbs, lower orb agents, or if they play, or if they save after winning a pistol. Like if this stuff actually happens, is that good for the teams? And do they like that? And is that going to be unhealthy for the game instead? I don't know. And I think that time will tell. I would love to hear what you guys think. Although I have seen a general reception of this hot take as being pretty bad. And I'm on the fence about some of the stuff because I think this is very disingenuous, the way that he talks about it in some ways. I think that 1,000 credits and 5 orbs aren't quite right. And I think that when you're talking about trolling and things, I think you're taking into account the entire game and not just one round. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I'll leave it. So I would love to know your guys' opinions in the comments. And I'll see you in my next one.